Okay.
But then when radar was available, when the G was invented, as I said, that will give you a position over the Ruhr to within quarter of a mile of the target, and quarter of a mile was neither here nor there. It was going to cause damage anyway. But you didn't need any contact with the ground whatever. It was all done in the aircraft, and I never looked out to try and see the ground. There was no point in it. There might be a cloud layer down below, so you wouldn't be able to see the ground. It was dark anyway, so there's no point in looking out. One had to depend on obtaining either a position from G, or before those days obtaining position lines from either by radio, or if the visibility was good in daytime, by this astro compass.
How important was the navigation work? Sorry.
It was extremely important in that on that DVD that you've got, you'll find other people's estimate of the importance of navigation. Extremely important, because before the days of radar navigation, a large proportion of the bombs was being wasted. It was dropping within, you'd get maybe 10% of the aircraft would drop their bombs within 5 miles of the target, and so the majority of bombs fell in open fields and caused no damage at all, until radar came and you could fix your position precisely. You knew when to tell the bomb aimer to release the bombs. There was always a master bomber who, with the Pathfinder force, they would mark the target, you see, and you get the bomb aimer until he could see the flares dropped by the Pathfinder force, and then when he could see those flares, he knew that it was time to drop the bombs. But sometimes, for one reason or another, the flares weren't visible. There were no flares, so then in that case, I had to put in the bomb release point on my G set, and I would guide the bomb aimer, who would pass instructions to the pilot, and I would guide the bomb aimer towards the aiming point, and when the aiming point was released, then I would tell him to release the bombs.
What skills were needed to become a navigator?
You need to have a good navigation, good mathematical skills. Somebody who was no good at mathematics would never be much use, because I used to find a position every 12 minutes and give the pilot a correction of course if necessary. Yes, 12 minutes, because 12 minutes is exactly a fifth of an hour. So it would take me 6 minutes to find this position, 6 minutes to work out the fresh course or correction to the course. So it was 5 minutes, you see, 6 minutes rather, a tenth of an hour. So if the aircraft speed was 240 knots, then in 6 minutes it was going to go 24 nautical miles. You see. So it was easy to work out what sort of arithmetic is that called? Mental arithmetic. It was easy to work out here. I didn't have to use the circular slide rule to work it out. So 12 minutes, it just about took 6 minutes to work out the position and the wind velocity, 6 minutes to work out a fresh course. So every 12 minutes, that sort of operation took place.
How did you feel in the prisoner of war camps?
Well, it wasn't, it could have been worse, put it that way. It was far from being pleasant, mind. I mean, it was rough because, well, perhaps I could go back a bit further than that. As I came down by parachute, it was dark, of course. It was the height, we were at some 15,000 feet then. We were attacked by a German night fighter and set on fire. You'll have all the details of that. It just happened in Halifax that the navigator's position was the easiest one to get out of. All I had to do was stand up, and the seat that I sat on was on springs and it folded itself against the wall. I kicked away the two legs of the navigation table on the opposite wall, and the navigation table fell flat. It left a big open space about that size with a trap door in it. All I had to do was reach down, turn the handle, lift the hatchway, and once you got it above the vertical, you could lift it off its hinges, turn it diagonally and drop it through the hole, so it left a big open space, so the navigator was always the first one through. As a burning petrol was swilling into the fuselage from the punctured wing tanks, and obviously one or two things was going to happen in a very short time. Either a petrol tank with nothing in it but petrol vapour was going to blow up and blow the wing off, or else the main spar of the wing would be so weakened by the fire that the weight of the engines would cause it to drop off, whereupon the aircraft would go into a spin and nobody would get out from there. So I was out with just a few seconds to spare before anybody else had time to get out. The aircraft was in a spin and went straight down. What was it like in the prisoner of war camp, you said? Well, I was 6 days on the run before I got caught because it was night time when I came down and nobody saw. It was a bitter time of the year. It froze it rained for 2 days. And then it froze, so my clothes froze on me. I had a little escape pack with barley sugar, chewing gum, energy tablets, water purifying tablets, and 1 or 2 items like that, but nothing else at all. And in the end, I was captured by a German sentry as I walked through the main street of a village. I should have kept out into the open fields, but I was getting a bit weak in the head by that time and not thinking clearly, and the first thing I knew was a call in German, of course. Halt, wer da? Halt, who goes there? I said, Englischer Flieger, and he said, Hände hoch. And so that was it. So there was no point in trying to argue with a loaded rifle pointing at your chest. Mm-hmm. So I was taken to a German airfield. This was Christmas Eve I got captured on, in fact. So I spent Christmas Day in the German airfield, and then next day I got taken to Air Force interrogation centre. I had one sentry, one man with me with a rifle, and his job was to deliver me to the interrogation centre where interrogation took place, all done in a very gentlemanly fashion. But you'll read about it in on that disc, I'm sure. Inside the prison camps, well, the main thing was shortage of food. There was hardly any food at all. You got for breakfast, you got, some days you got 1/12 of a loaf, some days you got 1/6 of a loaf, some days you got 1/4 of a loaf. Midday you got a few potatoes which had been boiled in their skins. a bit of vegetable soup made with Swedes usually. And that was the lot, in fact. Red Cross parcels, I'm eternally grateful to the Red Cross parcels because there was tinned meat in there, milk, powdered milk, margarine, all chocolate, even cigarettes there were, which were used for bartering for more food. And until the Russians moved in close and we were marched out, and it was sort of 10 days marching. Well, when I say marching, we weren't marching like that. It was just sort of huddled up like this and shuffling along through the snow because the snow was thick on the ground. It was a terrible winter, really. But the Germans did what they could. They were more or less in the same boat as us because they knew the war was as good as lost, and nobody was going to raise his head above the parapet and be accused after the war of harsh treatment or anything of that sort. They wanted to play it calmly as well. So it could have been a lot worse.
How did your navigation skills help you in the prisoner of war camps, if they did?
Not at all.
Not at all.
No. There were radio sets, illicit radio sets in the prison camp that prisoners had bribed guards to provide them with valves and so on, things of that sort. And the Germans knew this. Prisoners had access to radio sets, so